stand-up routine. Um, so I guess I will just get started because I think this is a really important subject matter. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about anger. And so I'm wondering, have you, or maybe there's somebody who you know or really care about, who's ever felt way angrier in the situation than it was actually warranted? Maybe it's like that rage, right? That's disproportionate to what's actually going on. And there's a real scientific reason why this happens. And the truth is, it's not a fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just your mind and body running on old, outdated patterns and programs. It's a survival response. And at one point, it protected us, but now it just keeps us stuck in a pattern response. And so today I'm going to walk you through a process. It's really powerful. It really is going to be very helpful. We're going to go into the internal control panel of the computer-like mind and body. We're going to update the coding. And instead of just managing anger, because it's really not about managing it, we're going to desensitize it and we're going to actually release it on a cellular level, which if you are showing up here today, yay you, because you're going to come out of the process feeling so much lighter and feeling so much better. And you'll be surprised by how quickly you have less noise up here. And so I'm going to show you what I mean by a pattern. And I used to work with a very powerful lawyer, we'll call him Greg. And it was during the pandemic. And he started just before the pandemic. He was a lawyer who came to me to work for anger management. And before COVID, he would drive from his home in Encino to Santa Monica every day in bumper to bumper traffic. And he was experiencing like this disproportionate road rage that just sent him through the roof. And then COVID hit, and then he wasn't going to his office anymore. But what was really fascinating was that he was still having at the exact same time the same rage. His body was still in that pattern response. There was no traffic. There was no, you know, um, he wasn't on the freeway. He was taking the rage out on, people in the house, not the people shouting, next to him in the car. And I thought that was really interesting because it wasn't ever about the traffic. It's just a pattern that was wired into his nervous system. So knowing this, it kind of takes the shame out of the equation, because it's not a fault. And I took him through a process where we identified how his body was responding in the heat of the moment and then how to change his reaction and the pattern in real time and get to the root that was decades old, right? In those formative years from like 0 to 8 years old. And we released it at a subconscious level. And here's the thing, if Greg can do it, I promise you. And if I could do it, anybody can. So before we dive in, I want you to imagine something, right? Imagine there are three toddlers and they're playing with, one of those plastic boxes that have all the shapes and they're trying to get a square peg into the round hole. All right. And it doesn't work, right? But the first child tries and fails and they're like, it can't work, it's not working. And then the second child tries and gets bored and gets up and walks away because they fail. And then there's the third child and they try and then they try again and they fail. And then they start banging the puzzle and then they take the whole thing and they throw it across the room. Now, which of the three kids do you think gets into trouble, right? The one who throws it, generally speaking, right? And what do you think the message the child receives might be? I'm bad, right? And here's the truth, the child is not bad. It's the nervous system having a response, and they're really overwhelmed and they're trying to get help and they don't know how to express their feelings. But this is where things start to get patterning, right? Whether it's modeled or a message that you received. And we've all been there and we notice the way certain reactions almost happen before we could even think. When you get a text and you're reactive and you know, you're replying really quickly, or you press send before you really want to. And each reaction, let's say, with the example of the three toddlers, the coding becomes crying is a sign of weakness, right? Giving up means you're lazy, or exploding means you have a temper and you're bad. And none of these are flaws. They're just coding strategies that the nervous system learns so that it creates protection, and it's a way to get needs met, right? So if somebody is volatile, maybe they were never heard and they keep shouting to try to get their point understood. And so as you just think about now how you might notice some of those early blueprints for yourself, right? And just take a moment and see if you could become aware of the messaging that you received early on. Because sometimes anger can be disguised and it gets very tricky and confusing. Um, for me, I wasn't allowed to be angry. Everybody else had their own feelings, and I was like the peacemaker, maker. And so some people, their anger shows up snapping at people, and others, it's like withdrawing and being silent. So maybe there's some passive aggressiveness, or maybe like me, I become a people pleaser and I abandon myself. And this is a survival pattern. But what happens when I abandon myself so that I meet everybody else's needs is I don't meet my own. And that turns into silent, repressed resentment and anger that can create those disproportionate outbursts or inbursts, really. And it really doesn't matter whether it's sarcasm or how you notice it. We're going to tune in and see how we notice this showing up for you. And I want you to take a look at what your patterns were in the messaging. So, like for me, I mentioned before, my mom would say, "Stop it, go put your feelings in a drawer." And like I said, I would, I'd shove my head in my underwear drawer. And I'd be like, "What?" So I learned very early on to hold on, but holding on isn't good for the body. So see if you could just, as I talk about this, how do you respond? And can you become aware of some of the ways that you were modeled or told, or what were your beliefs about anger? And I want to get something very clear. Anger is a beautiful emotion. It's not bad. It's not really a threat. It's a signal. And we've all felt this signal before, right? And it's really saying something like a boundary has been crossed, or this matters to me, gets you to advocate for yourself. I had a client of mine where she was telling me she was, working this corporate job, and she was in a team, and she did the bulk of the work, and then somebody else got all the praise, and that anger and rage, I mean, come on. So it was there not as a bad thing, but as a signal for her to advocate for herself. And in the past she would withhold herself, and it would come out passive aggressively. Sometimes she wouldn't even turn things in on time because she was so pissed. We had these tactics, but we're not choosing it. It's like this old outdated program. It's of her being, fuck you, an asshole in response, forgetting to send somebody information conveniently. And so as I say this, we all have our own stinky breath that we can't smell, even though the nose is right over our mouth. And so I'm going to have you start smelling your stinky breath. Um, Now, I want you to understand healthy anger is a good thing. It's very clear, it's proportionate to the circumstance, it's very protective, and it comes up in the moment, and then it leaves. It leaves the body. Toxic anger, on the other hand, which most of us have, is not the good kind of anger. This is when we don't learn that it's safe to be expressed. And so it gets buried, it gets ignored because maybe there was a lot of shame, and it doesn't just disappear, it goes underneath the surface, right? And it gets stored in the body. And like I said, maybe it shows up as sarcasm or passive aggressiveness or explosive outbursts, whatever you notice, or chronic tension or fatigue, or just your body shutting down. And suddenly we're reacting now with intensity from way back when, because emotions were always trying to come up and leave the body. That's why it becomes disproportionate. So, all that, if something is triggering and it feels similar to way back then that was never fully processed, it gets amplified. And then the message of what you want to share in that moment gets buried and lost, and then it becomes about something completely different, you know? So when anger is toxic, it's often used as a secondary emotion, protecting what's really underneath, whether it's shame or hurt or grief and loss or helplessness. Think of the times where you couldn't figure something out, or you burst out angrily because you don't want to feel ashamed that you're inadequate. Right? So it disguises itself. So we're going to be peeling the layers of this off. And I want you to just close your eyes for a moment right now. And we're not diving yet into the hypnosis. We're going to do some neurolinguistic programming and some uh, getting to know some of the patterns. And so as you close your eyes just for a moment and just notice your breathing in. Good. Yeah. And breathing out just like that. Just each breath soothing your body and just calming your mind. As you exhale out, I wonder if you can notice how your shoulders begin to drop just a little bit more. Maybe you feel your feet on the floor or the chair beneath you supporting you. And just allow yourself for the next few moments to be exactly where you are right now. And think about what tends to trigger anger for you. Because maybe it's a person or a place, or maybe it's a time of day where, I know in my household, my husband sometimes forgets to eat and we're cooking and he's real fun in the kitchen. So time of day might be something. But see if you can become aware, whether it's a person and the thoughts about them or a situation. And just notice that as you think about this, as you become aware, notice if your breathing starts to shift. Notice if it becomes more shallow or if there's a sensation in your chest. Because this is your body's way of showing you that you're holding on. So bring your awareness to that area of the body right now and just breathe. Because sometimes it's pretty obvious where we feel it. Anger is usually stored in the liver, and so some people may notice feelings of surge of rage in the gut. See if you notice if there's a temperature, like a heat, or are you cool? Does it cool off and do you become just cold? Notice, just without any judgment. And notice what seems to trigger versus annoy. And this is interesting because it could be annoying when somebody doesn't listen to you, or is that triggering? When you're blamed for something that you didn't do, is that frustrating or is that triggering? When you overextended yourself and feel unappreciated, is that upsetting or is that triggering? when somebody speaks to you in, the tone, is that just disrespectful or is it triggering? Or if somebody makes plans without your input and changes the playbook, is that frustrating or triggering? See if you can become aware of what's triggering. That's different. There's a charge around a belief. And the emotion that was held on to at the time was never fully processed. So today we're going to process these emotions and disassemble these beliefs because you made them in the first place, probably decades ago, probably before the age of 8. Most people do. But the question is, do we really want that part of us dictating our triggers and how we see ourselves in the world and how we see the world around us for the rest of our life? So I want you to notice as you think about a triggering time, what are you choosing to believe about yourself or the situation in order for the feeling to exist? I'm unimportant. If people are ignoring you, that gets me. That's one of my beliefs that I had to work through. I'm not good enough. The world is on my shoulders, or it's not safe. I got to control everybody, everything, because I don't feel safe otherwise. Notice what it comes up for you. Because when a person begins to spot the belief, they're no longer reacting to the surface moment. They're looking at the coding, the program that's running the show. And the moment you see and notice the code, like you're shining a flashlight on this coding in the internal control panel, that's where you are most powerful because you can rewrite it, which is a good thing. It's called neuroplasticity. Now, I've mentioned before, and very few people really talk about this, but anger isn't the bad thing. Think of it like a bodyguard. And it's often protecting something real tender underneath that may be seen as a sign of a weakness. Maybe it's hurt from being ignored or betrayed or unseen or misunderstood. Or maybe it's a deep-rooted fear that if you were to speak up or set a boundary, you'd get in trouble. Just being you, it wasn't safe. Just notice. Because when your nervous system senses that kind of emotional threat, anger often sets in to protect. Because it's far more powerful to be angry than to be shamed. Think about it. Back in the caveman day or in medieval times, if you were shamed, banished, gone with, it would mean possible death. So this is real old, ancient, outdated programs, not just from when you were 0 to 8 years old, but that are part of the survival response in the brain that hasn't really evolved the way modern times have. And it was never meant to lead you. You've just rehearsed outdated programs that made something familiar, but it's not the truth. It just feels like it. And that's what's interesting. Now, I want you to think about a specific trigger from your own life, once again, and just once again, notice where you might notice it in your body. Bring your awareness. Maybe you notice it in the gut or in your jaw or stomach. And I want you to ask yourself, what's my patterned response? Are you the type of person who lashes back out and fights? Or do you shut down and withdraw? Do you bite your tongue but simmer inside? Or do you replay that moment over and over again? Because there's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's just becoming aware. And as you become the observer of your very own wiring right now, you allow your mind and your body to shift to what's coming next. So I want you to bring to mind one more time that moment where you felt maybe it was a little bit of irritation or anger or a little bit of resentment. Maybe it was the heat rising up in your chest. Nothing huge, just a moment, a real moment. And just be there now. See what you see and hear what you hear. Feel what it feels like. And again, notice where this is living in your body. Same place or not? Jaw, chest, stomach. Maybe shoulders are creeping up. I don't know. You decide and notice. And we don't have to change anything yet. Just allow yourself to observe and become aware, like we're shining a flashlight on it. And I wonder if you can become aware if the sensation, which is really emotion, energy, that's in motion, if you can notice the movement it's moving in, which direction, what would it be? Is it pressing inward, spreading out? Is it rising up like fire or down? Is it spinning clockwise or counterclockwise? Just notice. Pinching. And without any force, but just slowing down your breath, begin reversing this movement using your imagination. So if it was moving up, push it down. See what happens when you do. And imagine you were able to drain all the color out, just making whatever shape there might be, black and white, as you just breathe. And while you're just here, still aware, let's add one more powerful move. It's very simple. One of my clients, I'll call her Maria. She told me it was like a hot brick was underneath her ribs when she gets mad. Felt like a big brick under the ribs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's where your liver is, and that's where anger is stored. So if you were to, and this is going to seem a little awkward and weird, but it works, take 4 fingers and just underneath the rib cage on the right-hand side, just press those fingertips inward. So you're pressing in. And as you lean forward, we're going to make this sound. Shh. Like you're letting air out of a balloon. And one more time. Shh. Like that librarian in a quiet room, shushing the talkers. And one last time. And pushing the fingers in. Shh. This is your body's release valve for anger. And when a person does this before reacting, then the emotion doesn't do the talking. And Once you allow the body to recalibrate from here, notice if you need to speak up for yourself or set a boundary, or just breathe and let the wave pass. And as you just allow yourself to settle into this awareness, maybe you notice a little bit more space beginning to open up in the chest, or that your shoulders have dropped just a little bit more. And as you just get yourself a little bit more comfortable right now, as you're just getting a little bit more comfortable, and as you're just listening to my voice, you might become aware of your breathing. And you already know that you relax more when you slow this down. And as you're starting to slow down your breathing, just noticing breathing in and breathing out just like that. Each breath soothing your body and just calming your mind. I wonder if you can become aware of how the chair's supporting your body and that it's safe to relax all those muscles where your body touches the chair. What's it like noticing that you're safely supported and just really free to let go so that every nerve turns loose? It just lets loose. Maybe you notice how your spine settles a little differently as you breathe. Maybe the muscles around your eyes and your jaw begin to release and relax and just let go. And once you've noticed all the little muscles down the back of your neck, releasing, relaxing, just letting go, you can go ahead and release and relax all those muscles all the way down your back. And I wonder what it might be like as you relax all the muscles from the top of your head all the way down to the very tips of your toes. Go ahead and do that now. Relax all the muscles in your body. As you exhale out, sooner or later you'll find your awareness goes back to the breath. And I wonder if you can become aware of how the air is a little cooler on the inhale in and slightly warmer on the exhale out. Can you notice? As your body just lets go. I wonder how quickly you might become aware of which part of your body is already most relaxed right now. Just a little bit more. Maybe it's like a fingernail even. You could decide. But just notice where that most relaxed, comfortable part of your body might be. And the more you notice, the more you'll find how relaxed that part just naturally, just automatically becomes. Like a wonderful wave of relaxation begins traveling all around and through and through. This wonderful wave of relaxation, this soothing color of comfort. Maybe it's a color, first color that comes to mind, just begins to move all around and through from the top of your head all the way down to the very tips of your toes and then all the way back up again. And as you become aware of how much more relaxed your body's becoming right now, maybe you notice the stillness in the room or the sound of your breath. Whatever sounds you notice, they'll just fade into the background. In fact, whatever you notice from now on will help you relax even more. And before we go deeper, I want to remind you, your subconscious mind knows everything. So anytime you find yourself trying to figure it out and take control, just stop. It's okay. That's your signal that it's safe to relax. It's like your heart beats without you having to do any work, or your breathing happens all by itself. Because your mind really isn't designed to sit still. So as you occasionally just wander out, you may wander back into my voice. My voice can comfort you, it could guide you back in the exact right way that's just right for you. And you can choose to let go and just notice your breathing. Maybe it's reassuring to recognize that there is a part of your mind and it already knows how to learn, even without knowing that it's learning. And it may or may not make sense to your conscious mind, which is okay. Because there's other parts of your mind that are way beyond our conscious awareness that are very comfortable with the awareness. It's like, the very first time you learned how to walk or talk or to hold things in your hand, you didn't realize you were learning. Or like when you first learned how to drive a car, so many things to pay attention to. It was real frustrating in the beginning, paying attention to so many things. You had the blinkers, you had to stay in your lane, you had a parallel park. Now you could just do it. You could hop in the car and go because your mind and body put it all together into one complete action. Isn't it nice to know that part of your mind is really here with you right now and it can learn new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling, new ways of doing? Because our patterns are just patterns we all do. They're patterns. And because our patterns, even the unhelpful ones, are simply learned responses, you could really let go of the old learned response and learn a whole new way of being, of doing, a new way of responding that's just right as is right for you. And your old patterns of reacting to anger once had a purpose and served a function. They kept you safe in their own way. But that was then, and now this is now. And a part of you is becoming more aware that there are other ways to get all the positive benefits that the old patterns used to give you, but without having to do those old patterns in the future. And you may or may not know what any new patterns are right now, which is okay. You simply need to know that it's possible. That's all. So I'd like to ask that very creative, genius part of your mind, your unconscious mind, to generate new ways, resourceful ways that keep you safe, balanced, clear, ways that fit into the person you're already becoming. And your unconscious mind will just check in with you, make sure it's okay. Like when you're taking a shower, or maybe you're washing the dishes, when you're relaxing, you'll just get this idea, and it'll either be a good one that you'll start integrating from this moment forward in a way that's just right for you at a rate and at a speed that's just right for you. But you'll just do so from this moment forward. Your awareness increases. And as you continue, just breathing slowly and deeply, just like that, each breath, soothing your body, just calming the mind. As you travel down deeper and deeper into an awareness of yourself, I wonder if you can imagine a symbolic staircase in front of you. There's just 5 steps, but with each and every step, as you step deeper down into an awareness of yourself, your mind, your body just freeze up even more. And at the bottom of the steps is a wonderful, safe place where you're free to let go. Maybe you've been there before. Maybe it's a beach with clean, fresh air, or maybe it's the mountains with a little stream. Whatever you notice is fine, but it's a place where you feel real safe, real peaceful, where you're just free, completely free to be you, just to relax. and let go. So imagine you're standing at the top of 5 steps. And just like you're looking over a little balcony, just get that sensation as you just travel down from 5 to 4. Every nerve turns loose. It just lets loose that you travel down now to 3. Your body becomes lighter as you become more aware, allowing images and pictures to heighten and brighten. At 3, now at 2, so that at 1, 0, just drifting deeper into an awareness. When I click my fingers, you'll just tend to drift deeper, allowing the door to the unconscious mind to open up, allowing your mind and body to let go easily, naturally, as you allow images and pictures without helping or hindering, but just to come forward just easily, naturally. And imagine you're in this very safe place and see what you see and hear what you hear. Feel what it feels like. You're very safe. And just notice with any or all of your senses, what about this place feels like you can let go the most? And as you notice, that you're simply noticing, as you notice that you're very safe, you become more balanced. And the more balanced, the more clear you become. And so, in your mind's eye, in this very safe place, imagine that you have a timeline and it's just laid out in chronological order. All the events of your life, maybe it's like a script, and all the scenes are laid out in chronological order. And just notice the direction it's laid out in. Some people notice their past stretches all the way out to the left or maybe behind, or wherever you notice is fine. Just notice. And somewhere is your future, all the blank pages that haven't been written yet. Is this to the right or in front of you? Just notice how these unwritten scenes just go off in one direction. And as you float up and hover above this timeline, just notice your body down here in the room and space that you're in. And that now is a pivot point. You're in between the scenes of all the past and the future scenes that have yet to be created. And get a sense. And the higher you float, the more you can see up here. But the past is over and done with. It's just a source of lessons and learnings, resources. And the choices you made in the past brought you to where you are today. But what you choose from this moment forward, well, that creates your future. The thoughts that you think, the images and pictures your mind creates, create your future. And you know this now with the awareness of your timeline. So just stop for a moment and notice right now as you just sit back in your mind. And as you float up even higher above the timeline, just drifting a little higher up, where you're free to observe and notice maybe your body down here is having a response. Up there, you're just observing. Because somewhere back there, a moment in time, there was an experience where anger first took hold. Now, before we travel back quite yet, you don't need to know exactly what it is. Because your deeper mind, your unconscious mind knows everything and it remembers. And as you float just high above, observing, I want you to ask your unconscious mind, what's the learning here? What'd you need to know back then that you now understand? Maybe it's not a fault. Maybe there's other ways to communicate. What did you need to learn back then that you may now understand that's different. You're older, you're wiser. And I want you to notice, whether it's known now or in a moment from now, what's it like when you ask your subconscious mind, is it all right to let go of this anger and hold on to the learning instead? Would that be okay? Maybe you hear a voice deep down that says, it was never your fault, or you're allowed to say no, or that you can let go now. Or maybe there's an objection. Just notice whatever the message is. Just trust it's the first thing that comes to mind. Don't edit. And it's exactly what you're ready for and you need now. And just allow this to be integrated into every cell where you keep the wisdom and you release the weight, as if you've been carrying this heavy backpack that's been weighing you down. And now you just get to unzip the backpack and take out all the bricks that you were never meant to hold on to. Just notice taking them out one by one. Bricks filled with those old resentments, all the old anger. And you just don't need it anymore. And they're not very thick or even very sturdy. In fact, imagine you had a hammer or whatever tool you'd like, and you can just, you know, break it up, and they just start crumbling to dust. Maybe you open a window or a door and it just swirls out the window and the door. In fact, imagine a very powerful vortex of energy, and it's spinning above your head. Maybe it's as wide as your shoulders, the widest part of your body. Maybe it's like a dreidel or a child's spinning top, and it's swirling. See if you can become aware of the color of this swirling energy vortex. Notice the direction it's spinning in, because it's there to deep clean. Kind of like, when you were a kid and you went into the car wash and you went through it and there's all those big brushes swirling around. Think of it like this vortex is spinning out all the debris, all the gunk of your car, of your mind and your body, of your vehicle that you're experiencing the world in. And as this vortex begins to spin even lower, it moves through your mind. And it's deep cleaning, it's moving through your mind, and it's searching for thoughts, beliefs, memories, those earliest moments of anger, frustration. Maybe the first time you learned something that you now know differently. And as you bring forward what you now know back then that you may not have, that you're now ready to let go. Just imagine that vortex just sweeping out those old beliefs, like debris caught in the wind, out the window, out the door, into the universe, into the ether, where it just no longer hurts you or anyone else around you. And as you notice the space it's beginning to create for new, empowering, supportive beliefs, just notice that space without having to do anything, but just notice the space you've created. Sooner or later, this vortex begins spinning down your eyes, and you can begin to get a crystal clear vision to the past when you do. And you can really notice how those old reactions were actually formed. But you now know that was then. And this is now and back then. It no longer defines you because you already know that that was then and this is now. And the choices you make from this moment forward create your future. It no longer defines you. And just allow it to spin out like it's spinning out old, unwanted patterns over the eyes, cleaning and clearing. Out the window, out the door, all the dirt, all the junk, washing it away. And as this vortex spins over your ears, maybe you hear old words of negativity, maybe raised voices or criticism, but it just becomes garbly, like it's watered down, like underwater. It's just cleaning it away. It's just spinning it away as it just sucks it out the window, out the door, just dissolving in the spin. Sooner or later, you notice your own voice rising above, and it's very steady, connected. It's very clear. And as the vortex moves around your throat now, clearing away all the barriers to where you may have had to hold back your tongue, it's just loosening up that grip of holding back your self-expression. Times where anger held you back from being heard, maybe. Or when it felt unsafe to speak up for yourself. And you might be finding yourself wondering, are there other ways I can look at this? But as your vortex spins through this, you don't need to know what ways. Just simply notice that it's possible. As it spins out the old, creating space for the new. Sooner or later, you begin to notice the space it's created in your throat, a safe for expression, to be heard first by you. You set the standards for how the world responds, not the other way around. And you know this now. And as this spinning vortex spins into your heart space, maybe you notice a part of you that has been holding on to anger that maybe has been protecting you. And you can invite this part to come forward because it's safe if you'd like to bring it forward. Maybe you notice its presence, the part that resists. This is the armor that you may have once needed. But now, isn't it nice to know that it was never meant for you to hold on to? It was never meant for you to carry. So I want you to thank that part in your mind and imagine what it might be like when you say to that part, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for carrying that weight so long and protecting me and doing a real good job. But I got this now. You don't have to work so hard anymore. Thank you. And I want you to ask this part, what do you need to feel safe enough to let go? And whatever it needs, maybe it needs to be accepted or acknowledged when it's present. Maybe it needs to be heard, or maybe it needs to know the truth. So let it have it now. And sooner or later, you'll find when it's ready, it just begins because you allow it to transform into a very calm protector in the background of your mind. not the lead. It's a boundary setter, keeping the peace within you first. Now, as this vortex spins in your belly, your gut, releasing tension, just replacing it with grounded strength. Notice which part of you is becoming the strongest, even if it's just a little bit more. And as you focus on the strongest part of you right now, it begins to expand so that every cell in your entire being remembers who you already are. Anger is just a signal that you've separated from who you really are, which is just beneath the surface of any tension. And just breathe. Because in a moment, we're going to go into your internal control panel right now. And we're going to reset your anger thermostat. So imagine stepping into a control room inside your computer-like mind and body. Maybe you notice there are levers, knobs, dials, somewhere in there. See if you can find the anger thermostat. Maybe you notice the words anger thermostat above the thermostat. And once you're in front of that, just notice the way it's set so that now you can reach out and gently turn it down. And you can do this now to the exact level where you feel balanced, you feel healthy, that's just right for you. And once you've adjusted that control switch of your anger thermostat, on another panel, notice a new program is ready to be installed. One that says stop, observe, and breathe. And this one comes with the power of choice. And go ahead and lock this in. And watch the lights beginning to shift internally, brightening up. Maybe you hear a click as the new settings begin to take effect. As you just notice your system is running smoothly right now. Now, in the past, your thermostat may have been set too high. It may have reacted faster than you'd like, holding on to anger longer than you needed. And just like that, like a thermostat in your home can be adjusted. You've just adjusted this thermostat. And we're going to just reinforce this as you walk deeper into the control room once again and notice that anger thermostat one more time and the glowing numbers. And maybe it needs to be reinforced a little lower one more time. So place your hand back on the dial and do this now and lower it. Turn it to the exact setting that feels safe and balanced. Calm. One that's in support of your goals over what you want. This is your new default. So that from now on, your body recognizes when anger is actually useful. And it's just as easily released. So that from this moment forward, whenever you're noticing anger rising, you just stop. You pause. And you notice this is just a pattern. This is a pattern. You observe the body. You stop the story in your head. You get out of the thoughts in your head and you tune into the body. Instead, you observe, this is just a pattern. My body's having a pattern response. It's not about being right or wrong in any situation. You're just simply observing that your body is responding to an old pattern. Sooner or later, you can give yourself permission to feel the sensations. As your body desensitizes this pattern, because every time you do, you reinforce this new lower setting. This spells out stop. So that each and every time you notice anger or discomfort or tension in your mind, body, or thought, you now stop the story. S, from playing in your head. T, you tune into the body. Instead, O, you observe and you oxygenate. Maybe you go shh on that exhale out. Sooner or later, you can notice what it might be like when you give yourself permission, P, to your body to feel and process. You'd be surprised by how quickly this new lower setting is reinforced and just sticks in the exact right way. That's just right for you from this moment forward. Because every time you do this, you're teaching your nervous system something new, which means you're getting closer to what it is you actually want, to feel calm, relaxed, in control over how you respond. And imagine how good it feels when you say the exact right things that are just right for you in any situation. You can overcome problems and challenges in the exact right way. That's just right for you because now you know your mind and body, nothing's broken. There's nothing to be even fixed. We're just updating old, outdated coding of thinking and behavior, making it more congruent with who you really are today. You're remembering a way to be. You're remembering who you actually are, and you're very powerful. You already are very powerful, and you know this now. And now, because your anger thermostat is set to a healthier, a much calmer setting, I want you to imagine maybe it's later today or tomorrow, or maybe something that happens that maybe from your past would have triggered you. And just see it, hear it, feel it, and just notice this time. You just notice it's a signal and your body's having a response. It doesn't define who you are. You just notice that now you stop. Notice this is just a pattern. As you tune into the body and observe, you breathe into the tension. As you pause, you breathe. You just notice the sensations, like you're noticing clouds in the sky floating by. And you notice how the sky doesn't hold on to the clouds. You don't need to hold on to any anger. Maybe your jaw unclenches, your thoughts are very clear. And because you've made this shift already in the unconscious mind, you speak calmly. Or maybe you choose to not even speak at all because you don't have to explain yourself. But you walk away carrying yourself in the exact right way because you're whole. You're now leading from a place of wholeness. So maybe you walk away without carrying the moment in your body for hours. And instead, you let go of this. Even when somebody says something unfair, you just notice you have a choice. And the moment you choose to notice your body's just having a patterned response is the moment you set yourself free from the pattern. Because you're not your thoughts. You're not your beliefs. You're the awareness of the patterns. And you can really let go of old patterns. And you can quickly and easily learn a whole new way of being and doing. And then imagine you're practicing. And it's now a day in the future. And because it's not something that you're trying to do, it's something you're practicing. It just becomes who you've become. You're becoming the person you already are. And you're allowing them permission to exist. And as you breathe before responding, you choose your words carefully, succinctly. You don't speak. In the past, you may have spoken through the emotion, but now you stop. You allow that to clear. And now you use logic. Because emotion always comes before logic. And now that you've attentioned yourself to the emotion, it leaves the tension in your body. Now you can speak with intention instead. And I wonder what you might be willing to start doing that's different so that you feel just more calm, relaxed, in control of your mind and your body. And once you notice, just see yourself, hear yourself, feel what it feels like doing what you might be willing to start doing differently. And as you float forward day by day, week by week, month by month, you're learning easily. Situations in the past that may have drained your energy are now energizing you in a whole new way, noticing you can overcome problems and challenges. They make you stronger, make you wiser. You get value from everything you learn. Every trigger is an invitation to learn what it is you're here to let go of. And as you just notice yourself becoming more clear, more balanced, every day like this, the new pattern becomes stronger. And I wonder, before I bring you up and out, if you can bring your awareness now to your heart. And as you bring your awareness and the breath to your heart right now, I wonder if you can become aware of something you feel real grateful for. Or maybe it's a time when somebody really appreciated you. Anger can't survive with gratitude present. And as you bring your awareness to your heart, notice which part of your heart is becoming lighter, just a little bit more. And shine a light. Maybe it's a brilliant color of light, of gratitude. What color would it be? What images and pictures? Maybe it's a sunset or a pet or a moment that fills you up with real good feelings, and allow that to be absorbed the way hot butter is absorbed into toast, into every nook and cranny. Allow every nook and cranny of your heart to absorb this glimmering, sparkling, healing, colorful light right now. So that with every inhale in, it just becomes more vibrant, brighter. And with every exhale out, this wonderful feeling just spreads out beyond the boundaries of your body, in front of you, above, below, to the sides. It's like this glimmering, sparkling, wonderful, loving light is extending beyond yourself. 20 feet, 30 feet. And share this loving gratitude with somebody who may need it, as if it can extend all the way out to them. Notice what that's like. And breathe. And as you allow yourself to rest right here, your nervous system learns it's safe in this space, which is a good thing. It's safe to let go. It's safe to stay open. safe to respond from love instead of reaction. Because you can take your heart and instead of being so vulnerable out there, you can turn it to the part of you that needs it the most. And just flip it around. It stays open and point it back inward towards yourself instead. Sooner or later, you may notice people or situations in life just seem to self-correct because you've changed internally first. Because when we change our internal representation, the world around us changes. You don't stand in front of the mirror, frown, expecting a smile to appear. So each and every time you notice anger in your body, you no longer need someone else to change. You go inward first and point that heart towards yourself. Validate your feelings. They're real and true. Sooner or later, you'll find that reflection mirrors what you've changed as you become the person you already and have been all along. You're just giving them, you're allowing you permission to exist. So that from this moment forward, every day in every way, your nerves become just stronger and steadier. Your mind is calmer, it's clear. You're just more peaceful, you're more at ease. You see things in their true perspective without allowing them to get out of proportion. Anytime you find yourself talking to yourself in a negative way, you choose a fair tone of voice, fair words. Now, in a moment, I'm going to bring you up and out. And then when I do, you'll just have a tendency to awaken feeling calm, relaxed, and in control. So that at 0, we take that deep cleansing breath at 1, just feeling just stronger, steadier, more alert, more wide awake, more energized at 2, becoming deeply engaged with your body and the room and the space that you're in right now, more focused. At 3, every day in every way, your nerves become stronger and steadier. You're thinking with greater clarity, concentrating more easily. At 3, now at 4, just feeling greater feelings of personal safety, overall well-being, more than you've ever felt in a real long time. At 4, just noticing your hands, your toes. Maybe you want to yawn and stretch, wiggle them. Blinking your eyes open now at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now at 5. Eyes open and wide awake. Just feeling calm, relaxed, in control, and welcome back. Oh, you thousands of people. Oh, anyway. So I just want to remind you, this is a practice. Be gentle with yourself, right? We didn't learn how to ride a bike in a day. You practiced. You wobbled on and on, off, right? In the beginning. Yeah. So this is a practice. And if you need help practicing, just go to my website, carolynbarnes.com, and I'm happy to talk, give you a consultation for free, and point you in the right direction if needed. And I have a lot of resources. So I just wanted to invite you.